So it turned on. I wasn't sure how or why after everything I've been told. And the night it spun a rod, it wasn't turning on. October, I tried turning it on, it wouldn't turn on. I talked to some people and they said from it sitting and going through the different temperature changes that were outside, it unseized itself to where it was able to crank and it started. Yeah, it shouldn't have turned on. I don't know how it turned on. So the plan right now is to drain the oil and drop the oil pan and see what we find in there. After talking to a friend who builds FA20s and rebuilds FA20s that have spun a rod, he said for now to run 5W30 and it should run for now, but eventually it's gonna go out again. So again, that arises the question, am I still doing the LS swap or what's the plan with the car? So after sitting down and crunching numbers as far as how much it would be to do the LS3 swap, at the end it's going to cost me 30 to 40,000, which is a ridiculous amount for a car that's worth probably a quarter of that. So I was talking to my friend and the price he gave me definitely made me consider going that route. When you sit down and do the numbers, an FA20 with a built short block, upgraded valve springs and other parts, he told me it would be 6,700. Now if you add a turbo kit on top of that, that goes up to 15, 16,000. It's still 15 to 25,000 less than an LS3 swap. And it still makes about the same power. You know, I've definitely thought about it a lot and I feel like the best route I can go is getting a built FA20 because that way it'll still feel like an FRS. It'll still sound like an FRS. And I love the car. It just needs more power. And I think that's the route I'm gonna go. With that plan, it can get done a lot quicker than if I try to do an LS3. Financial wise, it's much more affordable to go a built FA20 versus an LS3 swap. A lot less work as well, way less work. So the plan for today's video, I'm gonna drop the oil pan. But I need to drain the oil first. Once I've done that, I'm gonna drop the oil pan, see what it looks like. I'm gonna work on taking off some of the covers on the bottom. Actually, I'm gonna get a duster or like a broom because there's a lot of spider webs on the bottom. I'm gonna jack the car up and kind of brush off all the spider webs. After that, I'm gonna work on draining the oil and dropping the oil pan and see what it looks like. So the very first thing I'm gonna do is actually fill up the tires because it's been sitting for 6 months. I'm pretty sure the tires are really low and the car already sits really low and it's already kind of hard to get the jack under the car. So the tires are supposed to be at 35 and y'all can see this one, there you go, it's at 26. I'm gonna air up all the tires first so that it's sitting just a little bit higher so it's easier for me to put the jack under the car. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that right now. Honestly, I hate putting the jack under this car because of how low it is and it never fits. Oh, it fits in the back, so I'm gonna jack the back up first before I jack up the front. There's so many spider webs. I hate spiders. I don't hate them, but if they're crawling on me, I don't want a spider on me. So. Okay, the reason why I jacked it so high is because I want space under this car. So I'm trying to put as high as I can so I can get under the car more comfortably because it already says low. I think it should be high enough, so I'm going to put the jack stands. We're doing the other side now. I did it. That took way longer than it needed to just because of the space right here. But it's up off the ground now, so I'm gonna get like a broom or something and get all the spider webs off the bottom because there's a lot under here. So let me do that real quick. Alright guys, I'm going to stop right here for tonight because there's still a lot to do to even take off the oil pan. The cover on the bottom of the car that I have to take off. I got to take off the headers. I still have to drain the oil. Once I've done that, then I can drop the oil pan. So we're going to pick up tomorrow, and hopefully tomorrow we'll get the oil change and see what it looks like also inside the oil pan.
Tomorrow.
Alright guys, it's the next day. So today I'm going to drain the oil and drain the coolant. So I thought about it, and there's really no point in dropping the oil pan. I mean, if the oil comes out sparkly, then we know it's a spun rod. So I'm just gonna work on draining the oil, draining the coolant. Once I'm done with that, I actually need to drop the car back down on the ground and turn it around because I have no space in the front of the car right now. And when I pull the engine, I need more space. So right now I'm just gonna drain the oil, drain the coolant, drop the car back down on the ground and get ready to pull the engine. I also thought about sending the engine somewhere to get fixed, and I decided that that's not really what I want to do. I want to learn how to do this stuff. So I need to prep the engine and pull it out. So once I've drained the oil and I've drained the coolant, I need to disconnect the fuel lines, disconnect some parts of the wiring harness, and disconnect some bolts. Once I do that, it'll be ready to pull. I actually have a friend who has an engine hoist that he's gonna let me borrow, but somebody else is using it right now. So once that's available, I'm gonna go ahead and pick that up so I can pull this engine out. I do need to buy an engine stand. But yeah, right now I'm just gonna work on draining the oil. I'll show you what the oil looks like. Also just drain the coolant, get the engine ready to pull it out. So the first thing I'm actually gonna do is the coolant because it's right here. So it's very easy to access and it should be pretty quick. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that started, and while this is draining, I'm gonna go ahead and drain the oil too. So let's go ahead and work on draining the coolant. Okay, so the coolant is draining, so while that drains, I'm actually going to work on removing the bottom cover of the car before I drain the oil pan, because once I'm ready to lift the engine out, the headers also have to be disconnected. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. So one thing I'll say real quick about the oil changes on this car is like one of the things I've always loved because of how easy it is to get to the oil filter. To put in oil, the oil cap is right here. The oil filter is right next to it. The only thing you're getting under the car for is to pull the oil plug. I'm gonna take these off first so that it has a smoother flow whenever I pull the oil plug on the bottom. Okay, so I cannot really tell y'all. The oil does not look good. So now that I have the top off, I'm gonna go ahead and get under the car and work on removing that pan on the bottom so that I can go ahead and have it prepped for when I take off the headers. But I'm not going to take off the headers right now. Right now we're just working on draining the oil. The battery on the Milwaukee ratchet was dead, so we got to do it the old-fashioned way with the ratchet. You know what? One second. I brought out the torque drill because I'm not going to sit here and take off every bolt with the ratchet. It's going to take way too long. So I'm going to use the torque drill since the Milwaukee ratchet is dead. quick side note, I wasn't too worried about breaking the plastic clips because a while ago I had bought a whole bunch of new panels for the bottom of the car. So once I finish everything, plan is to replace the entire bottom anyways with new panels. So I have new clips and new panels and everything already set aside. So now I'm gonna drain the oil and then I'll show you what the oil looks like. It almost overflowed. It's not draining into the pan fast enough for some reason. It wasn't going into the pan as fast because apparently you have to stick a screwdriver into the hole that you open to vent because it doesn't come already open. You have to open it yourself. This was up, but in here I had to stick in a screwdriver to open it, which why wasn't it open in the first place? Anyways, it's open now, so the oil should not get close to overflowing. So I'm gonna finish draining the rest of the oil now. There is 1000% some metal shavings in here. We got that sparkly oil. That's not good. That's more than likely bearing shavings. Yeah, so we definitely probably spun a rod. So yeah, it obviously has some type of bearing material in the oil, which is not good. It's quite a bit. So I definitely need to get the short block rebuilt, and I'm still pretty set on doing a built short block with a lower compression ratio so it can be ready for a turbo. That's gonna be it for today. The next video, we're gonna go ahead and get under the car, take off the headers. We're gonna have to drop it so I can flip the car around to have more space. Once it's on the ground, I can get into the engine bay and start working on undoing everything I need to do in order to pull the engine out. That's gonna be it for this video, guys. So I appreciate y'all watching. I hope y'all stayed around to listen to those updates and see my progress on the car. If y'all have any questions or have any comments, just let me know in the comments down below. Make sure to subscribe if you want to keep seeing my journey with my car. And other than that, guys, that's gonna be it. See you next time.